Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, what is happening? This is Real Talk for the Christian Walk. I'm Wesley.
I'm Aaliyah.
Hey y'all.
I guess Pam felt like muting her mic while well, never mind. I ain't gonna put a business out there. Welcome to Real Talk, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey,
we are so excited.
Yes.
We are so excited about this particular podcast we're getting ready to do tonight. We need everyone to do us a favor. For everyone that's watching right now, we need you to go ahead and like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We need you to let everybody know that Real Talk for the Christian Walk is live. We're live on Facebook. And we're also live on YouTube. So if you want to watch this on your smart TV, go ahead and get on your smart TV and download the YouTube channel on your smart TV. Search Real Talk for the Christian Walk, and you can watch us on your smart TV.
Yes.
Matter of fact, while you're at it, go ahead and throw a watch party. You ain't doing nothing anyway. We
on a watch party.
Saturday night. And go ahead and have a watch party. Because we are going to delve into some real conversation tonight. I am so excited about tonight's conversation that we're going to have. But first, before we get into that, I was going to ask how y'all doing before Pam decided to get up and just
I'm sorry.
Every time she just finds everything to do right when we start.
I'm just trying to get this light. I'm really not with this camera thing. Okay.
You're fine. You're fine.
I think it's throwing me out this glare on my glasses. I think that's what will get me, but I like that light better. Okay, we good.
Okay. You sure? You sure?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. All right, guys. We want everyone, like I said, we want you to subscribe. We want you to share, like, and comment. This is going to be an interactive conversation tonight. We want everyone to participate. So we need as many people to subscribe. Everyone that's logged in right now, we need all of you to share right now. We need all of you to
Share.
Let's push this thing. Let's we know, and we respect it. We understand you're toggling between this and Erica Badu and Jill Scott. I get it. I ain't mad at you. I'm slick doing the same thing over here. I'm not listening, but I'm checking to see who went. I'm checking the comments. We ain't mad at you. I understand. But go ahead, share this. Let people know that Real Talk Christian Walk is on the air, because we want everyone to be watching Real Talk for the Christian Walk. We don't want anyone to miss this very, very important conversation we're going to have tonight. So, Aaliyah, Pam, talk to us. What's been going on with you this week?
Man, just trying to navigate, back in the shop, back working, and just trying to navigate in the midst of this pandemic, just trying to be safe, keep my clients safe. What about y'all?
Living life as usual.
Yeah. As for me, still working from home. Actually, today was a little bit eventful. Today at Fellowship Bible Baptist Church, we administered 480 tests for COVID-19 today.
Wow, that's awesome.
We administered 480 tests for COVID-19. We're going to be doing it again on Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So if you're in the Warner Robins area, the address is 431 Dunbar Road. 431 Dunbar Road. You can get free testing for COVID-19. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to have insurance. It's 100% free. No money.
Wow, that's good.
It's drive-through only. It is drive-through only. So if you're in the Warner Robins, if you're in Houston County, Peach County, in that area, you can do it. But also watch this. If you're in the Macon area, from 10 to 2 on Tuesday, you can go to Lundy Chapel Baptist Church and get tested if you're in the Macon area.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
I also know if you're in the East Macon area, like I am, If you live in East Macon, you can also go
East Side Out Loud.
East Side Out Loud. They ain't got no testing on the west side. You know, y'all
we good over here. We soldiers.
if you're on the east side like I am, you can go to St. Paul AME Church. I have to check the date and the time. You can go to St. Paul's Facebook page to check on that. But I know they're doing testing sometime next week at St. Paul AME as well. And so if you get tested, feel free to do so. The only way this curve is going to flatten is if everyone knows their status. Everyone needs to know whether or not they are a carrier of virus or not. And as we learned from our governor, this is asymptomatic. You can be asymptomatic.
Right, you can.
So that's right, Nick. East side. That's right.
East
Let them know.
Side.
Nick, I'm about to block you, Nick Farley.
No, we're not. No. All is welcome. Whosoever will may come to Real Talk for the Christian Walk.
Yes.
Amen.
Whosoever.
Remember, Pam. Jesus went to the hood and found Mary.
Okay.
Remember that, man. He didn't go to the west side. He went to the east side. Mary went to northeast. She ain't go to Rutland and
Rutland is Southfield.
And West Side.
West Side has West Side High School. Remember that, okay?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. All right. So other than you all having to work, have you guys like been out, tested the waters, going to restaurants or anything like that outside of essentials?
I do takeout, but
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I went at Walmart and I ran in so quick. I mean, that's the best I've ever been to Walmart in my life because I like to sightsee in Walmart. And I was in and out like quick. I don't even remember what they had on the front row. Like,
I ain't gonna lie, man. These good folks scaring me because when I'm I'll go to Walmart or whatever for essential purposes, and folks just walking around with no mask.
Hello.
Yes, it's a lot of people not walking around with no mask, and I'm just like,
no mask.
You took the words out my mouth because that's what I was gonna say.
Like we ain't got no whole
that's why I ain't going
around here.
Right.
Man.
Yeah. People just y'all. If you're listening and you're not scared of COVID-19 and you don't want to wear a mask, please have some type of regard for the rest of us.
Right.
Please. If you don't care about your health, please care about mine.
Right.
Right.
We don't have any control over you. But if everybody controls themselves, somebody told me I was paranoid. I'm not paranoid, but I just believe that we should take the proper precautions
that
have been suggested for us to take.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Y'all ready to bring our guests on?
Yes, let's do it.
It has been, we have this podcast was into being. This was Leah's vision almost 2 years ago. I think we started in June of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's almost been 2 years. It's almost been 2 years. It's been a year and 11 months. And in that entire time, we have never had a guest podcast.
Right.
So this is history in the making. We finally have a guest.
Right. Because that was my original plan, but I don't know what happened. But
yes.
All right.
Better late than never.
Let me talk to you now. Now we're about to bring them on in about 3 minutes. So we need everyone to. This is the time to share. This is the time to let folks know we're ready to bring our guest on. Before we bring them on, let me tell you a little bit about him. Our guest has over 30 years of pastoral experience. Mm-hmm. He has spent 22 of those years at the Lundy Chapel Missionary Baptist in Macon, Georgia. He is a native of Dublin, Georgia. He is a proud husband of one wife. Mm-hmm. He is a father as well as a grandfather. In addition to serving the Macon Middle Georgia community as the pastor of the Untitled Chapter Baptist Church. He also serves as the moderator of the Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Association, which consists of several churches in Bibb and Monroe County. He also serves as the state coordinator of the moderator and ministers division of the General Missionary Baptist Convention of Georgia. In other words, he is the pastor of pastors. He is responsible for overseeing the growth and maturity of pastors across the state of Georgia. One of his vision that came into being in 2017, I believe it was, in 2017, he launched within the Moderator Minister Division of the General Missionary Baptist Convention of Georgia, the Maximum Impact Conference, and preachers and laypersons alike from all over the state of Georgia come and gather each February to be enlightened and inspired by some of the best preaching minds in the country. We've had the likes of Pastor Reginald Sharp, Pastor John Adolph, Pastor Philip Pointer, Pastor Clinton McFarland, just to name a few, as well as Pastor Breonna Mitchell, Pastor Tolan Morgan has been a part of it, just to name a few of the people that have participated in this Maximum Impact Conference. And also, finally, he in the running to president of the General Missionary Baptist Convention of Georgia. That election will take place in November of 2020. He is currently seeking the office of president of the General Missionary Baptist Convention of Georgia. So as you can hear, he is well qualified to talk about the subject of pastoring in the pandemic. He has led Lundy Chapel and the General Missionary Baptist Convention of Georgia within his division through highs and through lows. And we are excited about what the man of God has to say tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome our guest for tonight, Pastor Anthony Q. Corbett Sr.
All right.
Corbett, how are you?
Good. How are you? Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hello. All right, Pastor, you're doing all right tonight. Thank you so much for
yes, thank you.
Of Real Talk for the Christian Walk. Seem to be having a little difficulties with Pam, but we'll get Pam back on eventually. All right, so Pastor, talk to us. So how have you been holding up since this pandemic?
Doing great. First and foremost, I want to thank you guys for asking me to be a part of this podcast tonight. Group of people, you guys, brilliant minds, out of the box thinkers, and great challengers. You're great movers and shakers, and I don't say it often, but I really appreciate what you guys do by way of really making people, even leaders like myself, really think outside of the box, and not only think outside of the box, but move outside of the box. So, and I really want to just say thank you guys. Keep up the good work. Keep pushing me. I'm slow, but I'm coming. And
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sense of humor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Pastor. Let's dive right in. Let's dive right into
Yes.
Talk to us from your pastoral perspective of what exactly the pandemic has revealed about the current state of the body of Christ. Now let me give some clarity to that question. During this pandemic, we're not able to worship corporately. We're not able to come together physically. We're worshiping virtually. And with worshiping virtually, that comes with a lot of challenges, especially for a preacher in the Black tradition, because preachers really thrive upon the call and response aspect of worship. And what we've seen from a lot of people have been able to handle it as if it's been no issue. Others really struggle with that. So with that, what do you feel this pandemic has revealed about the state of the body of Christ as a whole?
I want to say, and I'll elaborate, but I'll say this. I feel one word: unreadiness. Unreadiness. I think we've never seen, the body of Christ have never seen anything like this. I guess in the last 100 years or so, I know I have not seen anything like it, and I think it just kind of revealed to us a state of unreadiness. And when I'm saying unreadiness, I think the body of Christ is always prepared for trouble. I think we're always prepared for different situations, but to have something like this happen, it's very challenging, and it was challenging for me, but rather smooth as well. And also, it has revealed to us a situation of faith over fear. And I think to some it has caused some type of confusion between faith and fear. So I think during this pandemic, it has revealed to us not only a state of unrest, but I think it has shown the strength of the church. Because although we might have been kind of caught somewhat off guard, I think we were able to, some of us were able to regroup and make some positive things happen, even through this season. And let me share, if I may,
of course,
talking about faith over fear. We as children of God, at some point, whether there's a debate whether it was man-made, all I know is this: I believe in the totality of God. God allowed it. And if God allows something to happen, we need to be respectful to what God is doing. I go back, to Isaiah 26:20, when he told them, go into your chambers and shut the doors and remain there until my wrath has passed. And it was, sometimes troubling to me to hear different people in the body of Christ to kind of challenge, people's faith. And it's, saying they're fearful. And it's not a thing of being fearful. It's the thing of recognizing when God is simply moving and when God is simply working, because we're so used to seeing God's goodness and God's mercy. I think this is probably most in my lifetime, but of over 50 plus years of living, and I did say 50 plus years of living. We've never seen the wrath of God like this. We've had a lot of other diseases, a lot of other, I won't even say pestilences, but we've never seen the wrath of God move like this before. So I would say the church in somewhat areas was in, a state of unreadiness, but we bounced back, and we're seeing I think the church is seeming to cope some better than others. And you got to realize too, Wesley, Aaliyah, and Pam, that many churches are on so many different levels of understanding. It's kind of sometimes hard to just wrap your mind around how one church differs so much from another. But it is there, and it has nothing to do with denominations, but I think it has everything to do with the knowledge of the Word of God.
Pastor, would you say, or would you agree with the fact that no matter what size church you are, no matter how large of a membership you have, this pandemic has put everyone on the same playing field?
I would say so. No matter the size, I think some were better prepared than others. And when I'm saying prepared, technology wise, right? Even for us, for example, and I'm grateful to God. That's why you guys, vision is so important. You got to be open-minded. You got to have vision. The script is correct. Our people suffer because of the lack of knowledge. You got to have vision. And I'm afraid we were, London Chapel. Let me say that we were in a pretty good position, guys. Thanks to you pushing me. I think we've been live streaming and doing social media now for a number of years, and that's a blessing. And
I
grateful.
remember those conversations. Lord,
yeah, it was tough getting a brother to get there, but thanks be to God, we got there.
Yeah,
and but it's a lot of churches, you guys, that was nowhere near that level, and it really saddens my heart, saddens my spirit, because it's simply sometimes the lack of vision.
Yeah.
So for me, our church personally, even now, I think you and a lot of other churches, medium-sized ministries, a ministry that was already projecting vision into the future, was prepared. Most of the ministries now, some of them you can look and you can tell it looked like they haven't missed a beat. It looked like it's an all-out worship service. And that's the way I feel that our church has become, or is rather, London Chapel. And my hats, you got a hat on, but my hats is off to you for really pushing us to be in that position for such times as this. So, but a lot of churches, a lot of rural churches, and we can talk rural, we can talk mega, but a lot of the rural churches simply are not able to even do anything because watch this, they don't even have access to no type of Wi-Fi, no internet access at all.
Wow.
It is true. So there's a big difference out there, and a lot of times people don't understand that, and I'll deal with that later. But it is a big difference. It's a challenge to a lot of pastors and preachers. Even for those of us that was prepared, it was a challenge this time. But for me and for our congregation, it was simple an adjustment.
Right.
That was going to be my question. I think someone had a similar question to me. I was going to ask, do you think that when you say unready, you mean just in terms of the media or just other resources in general? In what ways do you think, what are some of the ways you think that the church wasn't ready, so that they can prepare better?
I think, again, Aaliyah, and that's a very good question. It goes back to vision. The unreadiness in vision and looking down the road and preparing God's people for the future. Now, when it comes to resources, let me say this, and I hear a lot of people saying that a lot of the smaller churches are going to close because of this pandemic, because of resources. But let me tell you something, it's a lot of small churches, they packing with some money. I'm telling you, it's a lot of, you got two Sunday churches that that probably got $500,000 in the bank.
They just ain't spending it.
They're not spending it. They don't. They're one that the ministry is very slow, or they're doing very little at all.
Right.
So I think, for as on that wise, for as the resources, the sum, it's not an issue. I think the issue is that the pandemic has wreaked havoc, death-wise, in a lot of small communities that thought they were tucked away, thought that they were safe, and that this disease wouldn't find them. And it's running havoc in a lot of, especially in Georgia, a lot of rural areas.
Yeah.
It's just almost unreal,
That's why, in my opinion, it's so important not to fall into a routine, because you've seen this pandemic, God can change your entire, what you thought was routine, and force you to be creative.
Yeah.
Did I answer that, Aaliyah? Was that good? Okay.
Yes, that was good.
Yeah. So let's talk about encouragement now. Now, of course, getting the word out on a Sunday and Wednesday or whatever day you have Bible study during the week. For those of you watching, whatever day that is, of course, that's important. Getting the word out to people, making sure people are able to hear the word. But let's talk about outside of Sunday and Wednesday. What ways, Pastor, are you through Lundy Chapel as well as GMBC as a state coordinator? What are you doing to? What ways are you keeping members encouraged throughout the week during this time of crisis? Because one of the main things, the challenge, even those that were ready to present a worship experience on Sunday and during the week, the challenge is the lack of fellowship throughout the week.
Right.
Different ministries, fellowship, they come together, they congregate. So what type of things are you doing to encourage people and to continue the fellowship throughout the week?
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good question. Let me say this now. I'm kind of a tough cookie when it comes to this, when it comes to fellowship and connections. And I'm very serious when I say this. I'm a leader that I believe that if I've been teaching and sowing into people's strength, and for times like this, at some point, and I know everybody's different, and I'm not being just so stiff-necked about it, but I think we have to really fall back on the knowledge of God's word that we already have in our hearts, because the truth of the matter is going to get worse than this at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if I'll be a living witness to see it, but my scenario is that out of all the teaching and preaching, out of all the things that have been made available to our people, hopefully and prayerfully, it hadn't been falling on deaf ears and stony hearts.
Right.
So, and keep in mind, it's a long time for some, but it's a short time. What is it? Week 7, I think we've been out of.
I think it is.
Week 7, I believe.
Yeah.
And for me personally, now that has nothing to do with anybody. For me personally, I feel absolutely great. I'm good because I feel that I've labored and I've poured into people enough to say, hey, I've got to have that strength. Now, the flip side to that is that there are some people that you almost got to hold their hand.
Right.
Sure, and that's fine. That's fine too, because everybody's on different levels spiritually. That's fine. But when it comes to me personally, I'm a little tough. I'm gonna make the baby walk and get some bruises, and then the other side of that is I'm just tough. I'm gonna make you walk, hit your head, we'll rub some alcohol on it, and we'll get up and go again. So, but the flip side of that is also churches are different. It takes a little more for some than it do others. Even for our church, one of the first things that we did, we don't have as many seniors, of course, as there was once. Still, a lot of them gone home to be with the Lord. But when this pandemic first happened, I put together a task team. I don't want to say a task force, or a team to really make sure that our seniors was doing okay. And we're a church that's blessed. Most of our senior members, they have children that are watching them. They have grandkids that are taking care of them. So the task really for us was relatively easy for getting and making sure they're encouraged. But what I did do at the beginning of this pandemic, I called each one of them myself. I know I called your mom. She's probably shocked that I called.
I ain't gonna lie. She was kind of sort of.
And it was not my intent to call. But watch this here. For who I am, I don't care how much the ministry grow. Whenever I started, and myself and Pastor Executive Alex and our administrative assistant, we were all sitting, and they said, Pastor, I said, you know what, I'm gonna call all of them myself, just to holler at them. And I had the most blessed and fun time talking with the seniors. Hey, good, what's going on? You all right? And they just really, just really lighten them up. So I think things of that nature. I really did a couple of calling posts, things like that to encourage. I think that we should be most of the time. I know at one point we were sending out kind of like devotionals on a weekly basis to kind of encourage and uplift our people. Sometimes, now let me say this, I don't know if they're still going out, but it should be. But now that you've imposed, I asked that question, I'll ask the question too. But small things like that. So each church is different. Now, by way of our convention, the state convention, I have to walk kind of light there because one, I'm not the leader of our convention. I'm over the pastors and ministers division, and I respect leadership and I respect authority. But we've had dialogue through that with our President Martin. He and I on a personal basis have had conversation, and we know that he sent messages out by way of emails, by way of paper trail, by way of calling posts, encouraging people, because the convention itself, of course, as it is cover the whole state, has been hit real hard we've lost some great I call them conventioneers, great workers of our convention. We've lost a lot, and not only our convention, but a lot of denominations have been hit and lost a lot of leaders. And this thing is real, y'all. It's real. And I know I'm a little off base, but people, we need to respect what's going on and cover ourselves.
Yes.
I've talked with people that watch this here that had the virus, and they didn't even go to the doctor. Didn't even go. They just simply made phone calls, and they came up with their old school remedies. And this is what I've been told. They came with all the ginger, onions, and all that stuff. Make a tea, keep it hot, things of that nature, because that's what my understanding. They told me a lot of the medical professionals are telling them that's what you got. Keep some hot tea or something. Go to the old school remedy. I will say this. I talked to, and I won't call their name on here, but I talked to one of our former members, which is a medical doctor, because frankly, I had a scare. We all kind of paranoid, Aaliyah. I had a little sweat one night. I said, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And I'm freaking out. And the next morning I got up, I called you, Pastor, just calm down, So but this thing is real, and it's all around us. It's all, even if it have not affect our family personally, we know people that it has affected. Some have lived through it, and some didn't make it. So it's real.
Right.
It is real.
When you were just talking, when you were talking about what you were doing to encourage the members, I couldn't help but to think about the fact that being online, streaming your services primarily, only online right now, is an opportunity to actually gain, people from the online community. Are you guys using this as an opportunity to do that? Or are you focusing just on current members right now?
I think right now for us, we're doing both. And keep in mind, Aaliyah, me personally, I'm probably like so many others, and I realize some people are better at it than others, but I have had my shares of struggles of trying to connect with others. I think I had my most vivid moment this past Sunday, where I just kind of really went after, really making sure people were saved.
Right.
And knowing Christ, and then trying to connect and begin this virtual membership.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind, I think it's been Wesley, I think over a year ago, we started Lundy Everywhere. And it's good to know you see how things happen and what God is doing.
Right.
I had no idea, but my whole intent when I said that to our team, I say, hey, look, we want to try to be a trailblazing church. We want to be out of the box. We want to try to start, Lundy Everywhere, and let's get virtual membership. Now, is that a popular thing, and was it going to be popular among my peers? Of course not. And I understand that because we're dealing with a lot of traditionalized people. But when God kind of puts something in your heart and your spirit, you go for it. So I think we are reaching out more now. This pandemic have really been a blessing, I think, to the body of Christ, because it ushered us out of our comfort zones. And it's ushering us.
It pretty much puts us out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
I was good with that about this. I was used to it a little bit.
What, ma'am? What you said?
I'm a little used to bad side about this. I was okay with it.
Oh yeah, you is.
Lord have mercy.
Don't tell nobody else there.
Don't tell nobody else. Hey, real talk. It's our secret. Okay, real talk. Don't tell nobody. It's in the bed at us for a long time. I have
been good. This year have been good.
Okay, now listen. For those of you watching, you're free to put your questions in the comments. We want you to put your questions in the comments. If you have a question for Pastor that you would like Pastor Corbett to address, feel free to drop your questions in the comments. We'll address them as we move further into the conversation. Now, this is what I want to talk about. You talked about this wasn't one of and let me just let you pass. This wasn't one of the questions in the notes, but as you were talking about how COVID-19 hits home and how it's affect people that are close to us. I want to talk about this for a moment. Talk about how this has personally affect you, because a few weeks ago, a strong supporter in the General Missionary Baptist Convention, and as a matter of fact, one of your closest friends on this earth, Pastor Quan Glover, moved from time to eternity due to this COVID-19 virus. So talk to us about at that moment, did it really home for you about how serious this is? Talk to us how that personally affected you.
Okay. Well, let me say this, Wesley. I don't know the official cause.
Okay.
Of if it was COVID-19, and it really doesn't matter. For me personally, the fact remains that, someone that was near and dear to me is gone. Does it have all type of symptoms and all that kind of stuff? Yes, but it hit hard for me with Pastor Glover, because that was my boy. That was one of my boys. We were down like the late cutters running like four flat tires. You all have seen him here at the London chapter numerous of times. Did my anniversary. So we were just boys. But to have someone, I talked with him. Saw it on Facebook that he was in the hospital like on a Monday, and so I texted him, messaged him, whatever I did, and asked him was he still up. Didn't get a response. So the next morning, of course, he calls me at 6 o'clock in the morning, knowing I'm not up, and we exchanged some nice unchurch-worthy words. 6 o'clock in the morning, and he does that to aggravate me. Call it, nobody calls my name like he does. And so he called. Of course, I didn't get called. I called him back at 8 o'clock, and I talked to him at 8, having a great conversation. And I asked him that question. And then, the doctors came. He said, let me call you back. The doctors come in. And I asked him, I said, well, is it the virus? And he said to me, he said, Corbett, I was tested Thursday. I'll get the results back, the following Thursday. And this was Tuesday. And, this was Tuesday morning. And, I called back and didn't call him for some reason. I hardly ever call my sis, his wife. I called her. I said, let me just call, her and check up. And I called and she told me that he was on a ventilator. And I'm like, what in the world? So it's been, that alone. And then I've had some family members that's very close to me that was diagnosed with it. But the blessing of it is they haven't shown any signs, and they're at probably day 8 or 9. And that and family members I'm talking about real close to me.
Right.
So and I'm grateful to that. Not in my household. Now I don't want y'all to stop coming to church, but they're close. They're not. They don't live with me, but they are family members. So
right.
And it's been and not just that one incident, but it's people. And look, this is, and I don't want to get into calling names because people have lost loved ones that were not preachers, that was not in the know, but they're still folks' loved ones.
Right.
And this disease have really ran rampant. So it is personal to me. And that's why, even at my house, I had to tell my kids, look, now you're going to get here, stay here, you're going to leave here and not come back. I just thought they were just, they wasn't grasping it,
Right.
And,
a lot of people aren't.
Yeah, they're not grasping it. Even now, I will say this, I come to the church, I have to stop by the grocery store, but it's not a lot of maybe running Walmart for something that I need. By the way, they don't have any TVs. That $1,200 stimulus pack, don't look for a TV in Walmart. So, you ain't gonna find a 50
savings.
They should have put it up, but
they showed that's what I did with mine.
Our folk,
yes, sir.
Hey, we got to learn when you get a blessing, put it up. Put it up.
Yes.
We got to learn how to say, but that's our culture. But that's real talk for another time. But it's been very personal to me, like so many others. So
right,
and you how do you have to deal with it. The same day that my good friend passed, I was going to funeralize that same day. One of the senior deacon, the longest tenure member of our congregation. So that Friday was a difficult Friday for me. It was just a difficult day for me. But listen, and for those of you pastors, most pastors love God's people, and they're compassionate about it. You got some jokers out there that they just who they are. That's all I'm gonna say on that. But for the most part, I think pastors are really love their people, and when you get a double whammy like that on one day, it was tough. That Friday was tough, but I'm not going. But since I'm a preaching Baptist, but that wasn't the only Friday that it got dark. But I'm gonna leave it right there.
Take them to the cross. Take them to the cross. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so now
questions, Les?
Someone you said someone had a question, Pam?
No, I'm saying, did anybody ask any questions?
Oh, yes. Not as of now.
People they were talking last week. You done scared them off.
I don't know why they do. Y'all always do me like that. Hey, I'm just down to earth.
Yeah. If you have any questions that you want Pastor Corbett to address, feel free to address them in the comments. Right. Even as we're asking Pastor questions, feel free to in the comments. I promise you, we're gonna get to them. We're gonna address them. All right, we got about. It looks like we got about 39 people. Let's see if we can push it to 50. If you haven't already shared, share this. This is. Are y'all agreeing? This is good conversation. Give us some.
Yes.
If you're enjoying the conversation so far, and be sure to share this post. Let everybody know you're watching Real Talk. We got about 37 people watching now. Let's see if we can get up to 50 people watching tonight.
Right. Don't just like it, love it.
Yeah, love it. That's right. We appreciate you. We appreciate
Yes.
Support right there.
Yes.
All right. So now let's talk about this. We mentioned earlier, Pastor Corbett is seeking the office of president for the General Missionary.
All right, generation.
We're going to usher in a new generation.
Okay.
For the General Missionary Baptist.
That's what I was about to say. You trying to prophesy?
That's right. That's right. This pandemic ain't stopped prophecy. Sure has. Let's talk about what is your platform? What is your overall vision? Should you become president, Pastor? What is your overall vision for GMBC? Where do you see GMBC seeing in your under your administration, under your potential administration within the next 4 to 8 years?
Short answer, but long relevancy. I just think, let me say this, General Missionary Baptist Convention, GMBC for short, has been around for this year, actually is 150 years old. And I commend those old soldiers that have served and paved the way. But it's kind of like the convention, kind of like so many of our churches, we fail to keep up with the times. We fail to keep up with relevant revelation for what God is doing even in this season. And so my primary goal is to try, Wesley, to bring as many of our churches into the relevancy of what God is doing in this season. Now, is it a difficult task? Yes, it's very difficult task. There's no if and buts about it, because as I've been out among, just not started, but for ever since I've been preaching and to see and hear some of the talk that you hear from a lot of the leaders of the churches is sometimes actually just sad, because there's no, again, I keep going, there's no vision, there's no relevancy. And so my goal is to really bring a convention, deal with the real issues of life. And we've got to, we'll remain true to the Baptist doctrine, which is based off of the Word of God. And let me say this, and because I don't want to create a whole nother conversation, but let me say this: every denomination there is have traditions. I don't care. You say we're non-denomination, it's still traditions. So I don't care who it is. You start a church, there are going to be some traditions. So my goal is to bring about relevancy and continue to introduce the convention to what God is doing in the now and to what He's trying to take us into the future. I mean, that's kind of short answer. Right. And doing so that you can't continue to do things like we've always done, and we've already started because we are praying and trusting God for victory. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe God had prepared me to do it.
Right.
I'm not one. I don't lie on God. I may lie on some other stuff.
What is real talk for the Christian walk tonight?
You got to keep it real.
I ain't gonna lie on God. A lot of guys come out. The Lord called me to lead this convention. No. I don't believe in God calling people to lead conventions. I think He prepares and equips, and then He speaks through
That's
His.
good. That's good.
So I believe that He has prepared me and equipped me for such a time as this. One, because you guys know me as Pastor Corbett. Most of the time I'm a no chaser, and sometimes people take no chase approach as being sometimes mean, and y'all know I'm really I think I'm a very compassionate person. Especially now, you're gonna have to ask me about 25 times to get it done. But eventually the brother come through. So I think with the convention as a whole, listen, it's no joke. There needs to be some relevancy. And I think the team that the Lord has allowed me to put together, and I'm not even haven't named even a vice president. That's what everybody want to know. They want to know who is the VP and all this stuff. But the team that we're putting together, I'm telling you, is great minds. They're out of the box thinkers like you all. And I think the Lord is going to do some great and awesome things by ushering in, as He has prophesied, preacher, a new generation of people.
Yeah, that's I think that's what that's definitely from what I've seen from GNBC, just from going to the different conventions. One of the things, I'll be honest, one of the things I'm like, okay, as different needs or different issues that are relevant to me in my generation as a person in my 30s, I may not fit into this older crowd. Now, what we see a lot of when you go to these different conventions, when you attend these different conventions, you'll see people my age and younger that act older than they are. But you don't see a lot of people that, millennials and Generation Z down that are who they are. A lot of times in the old traditional Baptist church, quote unquote, it's for training younger people means training them in the way they did it versus putting their own spin and their own flavor on it. So under your leadership, Pastor, and let me ask this, I'll just mention this. The three of us, whenever Pastor Corbett would give his moderator's address, Pastor would throw different things in the worship order. Like in one instance, he had praise dancing while the choir was singing. He would introduce spoken word to the convention, like little different innovative things like that. And as I was doing my job, and as I was doing video for you on those different nights, I would look at some of the older persons. Some were receptive, others were squirming in their seats because see this type of stuff coming at the event.
Right. Well, but Wesley, even at that, it happens in the church.
Yeah.
Now, and Pastor Nick had me squirming in my seat about 2 months ago, and I'm like, I think I may look closer, but y'all help the moderator. I'm trying.
My baby said that, Pastor Corbett. Aaron said, "Mom, I don't know if Pastor Corbett like that."
That's what Aaron said. Listen, that you said, what was about 2 months ago? I think.
Oh my God, yes.
And then turn out, guess, the brother, he was doing his thing. Guess where he from? Dublin. I said, Lord have mercy.
Oh, Lord. Dublin always coming in, starting.
We always come through, don't we? Dub time. But listen, you're right, Wesley. But this is what I hear. Some facts are facts, and one of the facts is, I may leave here tonight, tomorrow, whenever. But what I'm hearing too a lot from and let me be honest with the leadership of the convention. This is what they said to me, on individual basis more than one time. That they said to me, they said, Pastor Corbett, this person did this person did this person, but we believe that you're going to be the person to shift this convention. God is going to use you to shift this convention. We know it needs shifting. Yep. They said, we may not want to see it, but we know in order for it to live and to be relevant for the times, it's going to have to shift. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you, Wes, that blessed me. That gave me more energy than anything. And just going around, and hearing, and some of them mean it, some of them lying, because they know me. I'll try about anything anyway one time. But listen, I believe there's a sincereness, because I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't feel like I could be of help and the people wanted to be helped. But when I see and what I've seen, the adjustments that have been made, and just as we use the term, go in and to see the worship just is drastically changing from where it was. I mean, it really is, and I'm looking around the state, on the stage, sitting on the stage with some of the senior statesmen and the leadership, and and whenever you hear the president say, "Go on with it, son," giving you clearance, go, let the Lord do what he do. Yeah. I mean, that's encouraging me. So a lot of people don't hear that, they don't see that, but I see it, I hear it, and it really gives me a sense of hope. Now, is the job going to be tough? Yes, because even the average age around GMBC is probably 70.
Wow.
That's the average age.
Wow. The average age.
Average. It may be between 65 and 70, but here's the thing. Watch this. I've seen a shift. I've seen younger people starting to attend. I've seen younger people now being more engaged. I've seen the leadership pushing younger people into positions. Of course, I encourage that, but the fact that they embrace that, to me, is just, and the God is doing in the worship service. I mean, it's just, I guess, refreshing. We had a meeting in February in Dublin, and you would have thought that, for the whole service, you thought we were Baptist Coastal. Y'all know that's my word.
Oh my goodness! The Maximum Impact Conference this past year and the year and last year. I mean, it was we saw everything but people laid out.
Yeah.
For real.
And I think, and speaking of that, and if I can throw this in, that Maximum Impact Conference, we're going to combine that with under my leadership. We're going to combine that with spouses, because what we have is a lot of times spouses come and then there's really nothing offered for them to do. So we're going to and the reason we're saying spouses is because whether it's male or female, so, we need to engage, the spouses. So I want to really make that conference a little, larger in our thinking and in our mindset. So that's one of the things I'm going to do. So I just want to throw that in there as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's talk about this. Let's see. Still no questions, man. Don't be scared to ask questions, y'all. Don't be scared.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared to ask questions. Please, if y'all have questions for Pastor Corbett, drop those questions in the comments.
Whatever it might be.
All the work. Don't make us do all the work. Drop your questions if you have any for Pastor Corbett in the comments. But this is good stuff. This is good stuff. So now let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening in our community and in our state really now. As we all know, and we recently learned of this because of a video that recently went viral. A young man, Ahmaud Arbery, who was gunned down by two men who were, I guess, allegedly making a citizen's arrest. The story is supposedly, allegedly, he was. Their story was that he fit the description of someone that had been breaking in. Later things happened to where he wasn't breaking in. He was jogging in his neighborhood. The two men confronted him. When they confronted him, he pushed back, and when they did that, they shot him. And he succumbed to the gunshots, and the two men were recently and they were recently denied bond. But the conversation piece is there's a very good chance that a conviction never would have happened had it not been for that video that leaked. So my question:
arrest, you mean?
Arrest, correct. Arrest, not a conviction, but an arrest. Correct. Thank you for that correction.
We're waiting on the conviction.
We're praying for a conviction. But my question to you, Pastor, as a pastor, as a faith leader in the Macon and Middle Georgia area, my question is: during this pandemic, how can the church lift its voice to speak out against these type of issues that way too often happen in our community?
Okay. Speaking of social justice, I guess, in terms of the distribution of wealth, opportunities, and privilege within our society, I think the Black church has gotten too quiet. Once we came out of the thing of we got a right to vote, it's kind of like we have just really lost it. It's kind of like, and I'll be honest with you, it seems like we don't have that voice. And when I'm saying that voice, it's like there's really not a strong social justice leader through the Black church. Now, and let me be clear, Wesley, I do believe that there are gifts for everybody. Everybody's not gifted to be that social justice piece. But watch this here. I do believe every church is required to make sure that social justice is alive. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
In other words, you got to know your area of your gifts. And for me, I have my opinions and feelings about what has just happened. I have my opinions about social justice, period. But I also realize that's one of my weaknesses as a pastor, as far as being able to speak in the public concerning social justice issues. I may do well, behind the scenes, around the table, but I'm not the voice I'll say to be out front, to say what needs to be said. That makes sense. And I think what happens sometimes, the reason why I'm speaking of the Black church have that problem is because we as leaders, as an African American leader, pastor, I think that we ourselves are like crabs.
Yes, sir.
Instead of pushing them up, forming a ladder, you stand on my shoulder, let somebody stand on your shoulder, let somebody stand on this. We go to pushing them down. Realize, hey, bro, you don't have to have the camera. You don't have to have the microphone. So, and I think, and listen, the other folk they've been on to that game. They've been on to that. We're the ones that it's like it don't matter. We got to be the most intelligent. We got to seem like we're the most smartest, the most brightest, as Big Mama said, the most brightest in the room. When you can be, watch this here, when you can have a person that's smart, but they don't have public speech.
Right.
So you get your ideas from the folk that are in the room, but you give it to the one that can articulate it the best. Right. What needs to be said to the people. So social justice, as far as I'm saying, has been dead, you know, for me a long time in the Black church. And you know, and I don't want to offend anybody, but you know, I just think it's you know, that voice of who we are.
Right.
And really, you know, what the Black church have stood. We know we love Jesus. We love Christ. We are saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. But everybody ain't.
Yes.
You know, you got there's some folk you got to deal with them on their level. So, and social justice is a piece that I think that the church is way behind on, including myself. We are way behind on it, and I don't have a problem of calling it out. You know, we've got to do better as a church. We got to do better as a people.
Yes.
At some point, you know, listen. We know how to preach. We know how to teach. We know how to dance. We know how to shout. We know how to do all that stuff. The Black church masters that. What we don't master is knowledge. You know, in addition, outside, and what I'm saying, knowledge outside of the Bible, outside of the Word of God.
Yeah.
How, you know, watch this here. You know, people just don't need to feel good and feel successful on Sunday or Wednesday or Tuesday nights or whatever. They need to be actually successful in life, period.
Yes.
You know, you know, and this, it is a big problem. You know, there's no if and buts about it. So I think, you know, through this pandemic, through what has just happened, and listen to me good, I'm still, you know, holding my breath, you know, with this arrest thing that just happened in Brunswick. That, you know, there has to be a conviction. You know, and it just makes you, the system makes you look at everything. Why did, you know, there's a God somewhere for the tape to have been released. Somebody had to have some heart somewhere. Or the flip side of it, did they want you to see the tape? You know,
right? That's a real question.
It's a lot of unknowns there. And then and I'm not nowhere near no lawyer or anything like that. That's why I stay in my place. But we got to make sure, you know, you can be charged, but if you're not charged with the right charges, you can still get off.
Yes,
right.
We've seen this before.
You know, we've seen it before. I mean, what's the guy in Florida a few years back, Trayvon Martin's killer?
Yes.
Charged, but he wasn't convicted.
Yeah.
Right.
So be charged, but you know, if you don't have the right charges and then you know that come up, you know, it's just crazy. And to say or to think that we're living in time, it happens really pretty much probably every day. And this thing, it's a total cover up of the system in Brunswick, Georgia. That's the way I feel.
Yep.
It's a total cover up from the police chief to the DA, passing along. It's a total cover up. And I don't have any quote unquote strong ills toward Governor Kemp. I think as a leader, I'm very careful at how I criticize, but he should have came out and said something. You know, he got to bounce back from the pandemic some kind of way with the African American vote. So you gotta, you know, don't just watch the key character. You know, you gotta watch the folks surrounding the character.
Yeah,
right.
Melinda Coley.
She had a question. I was trying to find it, but Melinda, she had a question.
You got it. And we need to talk about this. I feel like with all the churches around here, and I feel this is a late question. This is a
Yeah,
layer.
this is good. That's a good one.
I love this question. I feel like with all the churches around here, how can we make a difference as one and not divided?
And that's a very good question. And you know, this is my opinion, and my opinion only. My observation is that, and it goes back to kind of what I was saying. Leadership has to get in order.
Yes.
You know, we've got to stop trying to figure out, you know, and I'm telling you, you know, and I love my brothers and sisters that lead churches, but it's too many that want to be leaders that are not called for that era. And really it's causing the church to suffer. I've sat in meetings and hear some of the most, to me, ridiculous questions that's being asked and things that are being said with our Caucasian friends. That's totally embarrassing. I said, you know, as dumb as I am, I wouldn't ask that. you can't get, look, you can't get much lower than me. But it doesn't matter. I'm just real. I'm just joking. You know, I'm not. But no. But here again, it's going to take a leader emerging from within the ranks, and people really feeling that hard. You know, at the end of it's going to take God producing a leader that can really bring this thing together. Because we got a lot of churches, but everybody's doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to do their own thing. Everybody's trying to be greater.
Yes.
When at the end of the day, we're still one church.
That's right.
That's what I always say.
That's right. I was, you know, with so many leaders, I mean, it seems like you said, everybody has their own agenda and kind of lose sight of the fact that, like you said, it is one church. And, you know, I've always wondered, like, some people are so territorial or so hesitant to actually share information with other ministers, with other churches. You know, they are real hesitant, and they just, it looks like they don't really want to see other people, other ministries grow. And I do hate that.
Yeah.
I do hate that.
And again, you know, I believe wholeheartedly, this is what I see and observe. I believe wholeheartedly, you know, we got to use the outlets that God has provided for the church in a very positive way, not in a way to produce our own selfish agendas.
Yes.
Right.
And you know, and we got, and I'll take probably some heat from it, but oh well. But you know, social media to an extent is a part. I think can be a very positive tool. It is. It can be, but it can also be a camouflage. It can also, you know, produce a lot of fake ministry.
Yes. Woo! That was good right there.
It you know, and there's a lot of folk that make it. You know, any of us can get on here and make it look like we're doing ministry, and we can have. I mean, you can have the, hey, I'm on the game. I'm old school, but I know I've been there, done that too. I mean, you can make it look like that you're doing so much, and you ain't doing jack.
Right.
That's right.
You ain't doing anything, or you're not doing any more than someone across the street. So we've got to change the clergy has to change the mindset and our mentality.
Yes.
Of who's gonna lead. You know, I don't have to lead. That's just who I am. You know, and especially when it comes down to social justice, because I'm gonna be in the background. You know, pushing and encouraging folk, but and speak when I need to speak. A lot of times, and y'all got more out of me tonight, and I'm surprised at myself. So
okay,
we appreciate that.
All right. I'm kind of normal, hard to crack, but really I'm enjoying it, and I'm grateful and I'm thankful again for you guys. But somebody needs to say something with when it comes down to leadership. and especially the Black church.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're simply hurting each other, and it's not going to work. And then we got to stop faking it, stop trying to seem so intelligent.
Yeah.
We seem intelligent, but actuality we're not intelligent, because intelligence does something about dismal situations.
Correct.
It
And
don't dismantle.
Yeah. And another thing, intelligence. I love what you said. I love what you said earlier, about, you knowing you're not the voice for social justice. Intelligence is also knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at.
Right.
Knowing when to step in and knowing when not to step in, knowing your lane. So to speak. So that also speaks to intelligence. And I think that's an important trait you need to have as a leader. That's why it's important to surround yourself with people that may be weak in areas that you're strong. And Pastor, that's one thing that's one thing I always say that's right about you. Pastor Keon Henderson, Pam, you're gonna like this. Pastor Keon.
Wait, hold on. Wait, first of all, let's just be clear before you get on here with that. Now, Pastor Corbett right next to me on the screen. That's my pastor now. Now, Pastor, whatever.
Pam, you just got some hair to flip this morning. Don't be flipping your hair right here. You just got some hair to flip. Anyway, Pastor Keon Henderson once said that the most freeing words a leader can say is "I don't know."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when you come to that realization, that frees you to surround yourself with people who do know and who can.
That's right.
And that way, your unit or organism rather is much stronger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trying to make it look like or put on a facade that you. So I love when you said that, Pastor. Let's address the question. Kimberly Amanda has a question. She says, as a leader, what advice would you give to the young men, young people really of this generation? Great question.
That's good.
Great question. And I would say that first and foremost, seek God or continue to seek God. And you just got to be who you are as a person for this time, but seek God, and not only seek God, but when you seek God, you've got to make wise decisions and wise choices of what you want your life really to be. And I think, listen to me good. I think this generation of people, of young people rather, are hit with so much. I think they have so much surrounding them that's pulling them. I've never seen the stuff. People lie. Well, we did this, or I had this. We all had our set of issues. Let's be clear. But there's so much now that the enemy has put in front of our young people, around our young people, that it's hard to tell truth from a lie.
Yeah, that's good.
It is. And even, and watch this now, it's sad to say, but sometimes we got to find that leader or that go-to person that can really confide in, even as young people, and really rely on that. Because the truth of the matter, y'all, we just about, I would say, almost 4 generations. One, people knowing God and really trusting God.
Yeah.
And even as a race of people, we know, that's our trust, God. Because when we have nothing else, and when we had nothing, we believe totally that we had God. And let me say, in addition to God, God wants us to He wants us to be successful in life. But in order to be successful, as a leader, I tell my young folks, you got to seek out success. You got to go for it, and we got to push them. I've seen some disappointing situations in my own personal life, my own personal family, But while I've experienced so many other joyous situations in other folks' families, you know, and so it's a give and take. But I think we've got to push our young people. Our young people, they got to make wise choices, wise decisions. It's a shame that even just like you said, I go back to this, just taking a jog through a neighborhood, you'll end up dead. You know, and and I've heard so many. And I'll come back to this, Amanda, Kimberly. But you know, what harm could it do or be? Or who would have thought someone would lost their life taking a simple walk or jog?
Right.
But you know, so it's almost like you got to teach your young people to be smart in school. You gotta be your own police. You know, you gotta be your own protector. It's just so much that they have to deal with.
Yes.
This day and time in order to be successful. You know, and racism is alive and well.
Yes, sir.
I've lived, and I've been blessed, and I thank God to live in some of the most prominent neighborhoods in Bibb County, and everyone that I've lived in still had its share of prejudice. Bottom line, everyone. I don't care if it's a $200,000 house or a $500,000 house or a million. Everyone still have their levels of prejudice. I see it every day. You would don't think you just arrived, because the racism is real. I witness it almost every day. You would think if you done got, and what most people feel like, once you have arrived at get a certain level, a certain house, or a certain car, they gonna accept you a certain way. They're not.
Nope,
they are not.
They
that is so true.
Feel who you are. I've seen them. I live right in the middle of them. They'll talk to this neighbor because they lighter than I am. They'll talk to that neighbor. They'll congregate at the mailbox, and I ain't scared, by the way. They'll congregate at the mailbox, and I walk out of my yard. They'll throw up their hand, and that's almost it. You might have one that'll break away and come talk to you for a minute, but you're never included in the social gatherings of the community. So it is tough. It's tough for our young people. It is tough. They're seeing things like never before. At home. In our own neighborhood. So, I would say, one, they gotta stay prayerful. They gotta stay encouraged, and we just gotta always be on guard. Sad. But we gotta always, our young people, they gotta always be on guard. You gotta, because if you don't guard who you are and what's around you, nobody else will.
Yeah,
that's right.
Now, Melinda, and we're gonna begin the process of wrapping up in just a little bit. We don't want to keep Pastor Corbett here all night. I'm sure he wants to get home. Pastor Corbett, we appreciate you taking out of your busy schedule to be with us tonight. This will be the last comment we'll take. I have one question I want to wrap this up with, but this will be the last question we take from the comments. Melinda Coley wanted to add to Kimberly's question. What advice do you have for the parents? Because she feels that some of our young people are only doing what they see every day from their parents or family members. Yeah, let's talk about that.
That's a good one.
I think as parents, we've got to do better of instilling in our young people morals.
Yeah.
And I'm a preacher, but just plain, it ain't gotta be Christian morals, but just plain everyday morals. Just treating people with respect.
Right.
treating people with kindness, as parents, and not only, and I'm guilty. We got to spend more time with our children. You gotta have conversation with children and not yelling and screaming. But you gotta have conversation, I think, with our children. And then none of us are perfect. We make mistakes as parents, and we'll continue to make them. But I think, conversate with your children more. And I think that more than anything will help prepare them for the future. And be real with them. Be real with them. No matter, I'm not saying that that you can't have the other type of friends or whatever, but we still got to be real with our young people.
Yes.
Tell them, at the end of the day, you still black.
Right.
And in 2020, we still almost have to fight for everything in life that we desire to have.
That is so true.
We gotta fight. And when I'm saying fight, I'm saying let me clarify this. When I'm saying fight, not physical fight, we gotta fight with our minds.
Yeah.
This is our culture problem. We fight with physically, and we fight with this tongue.
Yeah.
When are you gonna start fighting with your mind?
Right.
Yes.
That the mind is a powerful weapon. We got the tongue, we got the physical stuff, but when are we gonna fight? We gotta learn to outthink, be thinkers, and outthink people.
Yes. I like what you said about telling the parents to be real, because I was telling my mom I was very sheltered growing up, and when I got grown and I went to work in a beauty shop, that's what my mind expanded. And I was just exposed to so many things, and I was just telling my mom, like, hey, you could have prepared me a little better for this, because and everybody used to say that about me in the shop, and still do sometimes, about being so naive. So I like what you said about just telling the parents to be real, because sometimes we want to hide stuff from the kids and stuff, but we just got to be real, like you said, and let them know that hey, sometimes it's not fair. When you're black, everything is not equal, and I mean, that's just real life, and that just better prepares them to be able to react in certain situations. So I think that you're right on point with that, just about being real and not really trying to hide. And then sometimes we are ashamed of certain things in our life, but sometimes I felt like if my mom would have shared something, she ended up sharing stuff with me. I guess you have to know your child and know is it the right time, but sharing real things about your life and your life experiences, that's just real, and that really helps people. So I like what you said about that. I thought it was good.
Yes, raised up in the house. I worked in corrections, and we didn't have no get out of jail free card. And you get in trouble, you just in trouble. So yeah, and I raised my children just like that. And when I whoop their butt, I said, I'm gonna whoop you, because if I don't whoop you, they're gonna whoop your butt out there in the street, and they're gonna be nothing I can do about it. So yeah, I believe in being for real.
You gonna get this whooping now, so the police don't have to whoop you later. Yeah, absolutely. This is what we're gonna wrap it up with, Pastor. This is what we're gonna wrap it up with. What is the best advice you've ever received concerning pastoring?
I guess the best advice was, one, you gotta first of all love God, and you gotta love God's people.
Yes.
If you don't love the people, if you don't love God, love His people, you won't love the work. So I've taken that to heart. Love the people, and when we're saying love the people, love them enough to tell them the truth. Love enough to tell them, you're not gonna say everything. Y'all know that. Y'all know I ain't said everything y'all want me to say and want to hear, but you gotta love people enough to know. And then even when you tell them the truth, let them know, hey, kind of like that you say now, I'm whooping you because I love you. You know, that was hard for me to wrap my mind around, but you know, now I understand. But you gotta love God's people, love them enough to be truthful enough to give them you know, the facts of life, you know, not only from the Bible, but you know, this is what's happening in the real world. So you gotta love people enough to equip them to be prepared because and it goes back to Aaliyah, let me say, even with our children, Wesley, for you know, our children probably had to be what 3-4 times smarter than other ethnicity groups. You know, we've just got to be smarter. We've got to be on it, and we've got to let them know. So can I throw this in when we're dealing with the pandemic? Let me just share this in the return when we are preparing to return to our houses of worship, whenever that may be, whenever the numbers are in our favor. And I tell folk all the time, because this question, people call me all the time, but when are y'all going back? When the numbers dictate that it's pretty much somewhat safe to go back. Now, I don't think we'll ever it'll probably be a year and a half, maybe, hopefully sooner. Hopefully they'll find a cure, vaccine, or whatever. But in going back, I just think we need to be informed. We need to inform our congregation. You got to prepare your church. You know, you got to deep clean it. You know, by professionals. You know, you got to spend the money, not grandma and them. You know, but it needs to be. Just some tips and guidelines it needs to be clean. There's some things that we're doing, even your service times. Don't change, you know, your hour 10 or hour worship, hour 15. Get people in, get them out. You know, keep in mind, maybe God allowed this pandemic to show you that you can have worship without all the extra stuff.
Oh my!
And without all the tradition. So, you know, I think going back, because people are still going to be nervous, you know, I don't even know, you know, how they're going to come back. Prayerfully over time, they will. Prayerfully, some of them going to run in, you know, but when they come as leaders, we need to make sure that they feel safe, you know, about coming. So, you know, and some things that I'm considering, you know, maybe doing 3 worships, you know, Wednesday night worship will become a worship service. We'll have an 8 o'clock service. We'll have a 10 o'clock service. Spread them out. You know, we'll continue to practice social distancing. We'll have the hands-free sanitary stations set up. You know, all that kind of stuff. We may go back to the gym where we can space people out a little more. So it's a lot of things I think we need as leaders to start, you know, looking down the road so that we'll be prepared. You know, make sure you have someone in place to, you know, wipe down mics and all that kind of stuff. Wipe down the podium behind, you know, certain people. So me personally, I have nothing in mind of changing from what we are doing now, other than maybe just, you know, switch out singers or something like that. But, you know, we will not be going back to a all-out choir at this point. You know, we're going to be doing things, you know, in and out, you know. So I just wanted to throw that out. You know, there will be no coffee shops and all that kind of stuff at this time. You know, doors that will be open when people get there. They won't have to pull doors. You know, you just got to let folk know it's still serious.
It is.
And you know, and I just don't see.
Yeah.
You know, I just, you know, our children will, you know, I don't see us trying to start grow ministry back, our children's worship back. I think the kids probably need to be with their parents, you know, so everybody feels safe and have good things, you know. We may still at some point we'll come back and opt to say, okay, if you want your child to go, if you trust us enough, you know, then we'll do it. But we don't want to pressure anybody. Right. You know, our children are some of our most precious gifts, you know.
Amen.
Want to make sure that they're in a safe environment. So I just want to throw that out. But I think we need to start preparing to to re-enter at some point, whenever that time's come, at some point, and it needs to be in a way that is safe. You done everything you can to protect, you know, the worshipers. So I just want to throw that in.
That's
yes,
good.
sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pastor Corbett, again, we thank you so
Yes.
much for taking time out of your busy schedule
Yes.
to talk with us, to talk with the world, and to literally share your heart. We truly appreciate it. Before we go, we want to remind people, if you have not been tested for COVID-19 and you're in the Middle Georgia area, on Tuesday there are 2 opportunities where the details that I know of. If you're in the Macon area on Tuesday from 10 to 2, you can go to Lundy Chapel Baptist Church from 10 to 2 and get tested for COVID-19. It is free. No insurance is required. You'll be in your cars. People will give you the test. You have to stay in your car. You don't have to get out of your car. Make sure you have your ID with you. Don't ride dirty that day, okay? Don't ride dirty that day. Make sure you have ID with you. No, I'm serious. But anyway,
Don't do it. That.
make sure you have your ID, okay? No insurance is required. You don't have to pay anything. It is 100% free. But please, ma'am, please, sir, the only way we're going to flatten this curve is if you get tested. And on Tuesday from 10 to 2, if you're in the Warner Robins area, if you're in Warner Robins, near Fort Valley, in that area, we'll be testing at Fellowship Bible Baptist Church as well, from 10 to 2. Again, same thing. Make sure you have your ID with you. No insurance is required. You don't have to pay anything. Just make sure you have your ID. You stay in your cars. Everything will take place within the safety of your car. So we have those opportunities for you. There is testing in some other locations in Macon going on this week. I don't know all the details. I know there's going to be testing at St. Paul AME Church. I don't know the official dates and times. You can check their Facebook page for details. But I do know they're testing this week. I just don't know the date and times. So the opportunities to get tested are there, and they are free. So please take advantage of them. Please know your status so that we can flatten this curve, so that if you need to self-quarantine, you have the knowledge to do so. Please, everyone, let's take advantage and get tested.
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to say, people, especially dealing with the situation with the young man that was killed, do your due diligence in voting and doing what you need to do to be an active part of your community, to be actively involved in making a change in your community. If you haven't filled out the census, I believe you can still fill that out. Is that correct? Fill out the census, vote, be in the right places in the right times, try to get into the right table so you can stay informed about what is going on in your community. That is the only way that you will make a difference.
Right.
Absolutely. And don't just vote in your what'd you say, Pam?
Just don't vote because they're black. I've been seeing a lot of people putting out there black this and black that. Do your research.
Absolutely, do your research. Absolutely. And then watch this. Don't just vote in the presidential elections.
Right.
Because really, truth be told, there's some things that happen on the local and the state level that the federal can't do anything about.
Right.
So it's important that you be involved in the process of voting for your governor. It's important that you be in the process of voting for your district attorney, because the district attorney is important. We're seeing now in this case how important the DA is, because I think in that case we're on DA number 3 because the first 2 they withdrew because they didn't want to take.
Right.
So it's important.
It's important, guys.
Who your district attorney is matters. So please, ma'am, please, sir, do your research on that. It matters who you have as your mayor. It matters who you have as your county commissioner. These are the people that directly represent you. No, it's all right to go to the polls and vote in the presidential election. And trust me, we need to. But it's just as, if not more important, to be involved in your local and state politics.
Right. It starts. That's where it starts, guys.
That's
So
where it
just
starts.
just do your part to make a change in your community.
Yes, your vote is definitely your voice. All right, thank you guys so much for joining us on Real Talk for the Christian Walk. Again, Mr. Anthony Corbett, thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
Constantly and consistently praying for you as you continue leadership to the London Chapel Baptist Church, to the Middle Georgia community, and to the state as one of the leaders in our state convention. Again, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Another wonderful episode of Real Talk for the Christian Walk. We are out.
See you later.
All right, bye, y'all.
Bye.